Kronik is very good at Overwatch. That's why we just saw him in the grand finals of Stage 3 OWCS North America, and why we see him getting some good things done with this overclock on our screen. But this is a coaching channel, so you can imagine what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at some of the areas that he could improve in, or areas that you could almost certainly improve in, because the things that he does wrong are things that, hey, maybe you could fix up, maybe you could be better than Kronik if you did some other things right as well anyways. So we're going to go ahead and move on here to some of those examples. And we'll start with his railguns. Most of his railguns, excellent. You get those good squishy kills. We like that. You keep people honest, make them afraid to peek. That's exactly what you're looking to do with railgun. Take people's heads off, finish people off. It is great. Here, however, we see we've got a fully charged railgun. We're shooting at a tank who has 80% health, and we rail him down to maybe 60% health. That's not very good. What this does is it now creates an opportunity. The opponents used to respect the fact that you had a 100 charge railgun. If you spend this 100 charge railgun to try to eliminate Vega, as Vega's closing a corner, getting behind a hallway, whatever sort of thing there, and you miss, no big deal, that happened. You were trying to cash it in for a kill. If you do it on a Winston that's at like 10%, again, you were trying for that kill, you were close to it, it made sense. If you do it on a Winston that's 60, maybe 70% health, he's not going to die, and what you've just done is given these squishies on the enemy team permission to more aggressively peek your team. There's a reason no rail is such a common call in Overwatch. It is telling your teammates, oh, she used her railgun, it is now safe to peek her. So you put more suppression on the other team, you stopped their squishies from opening angles and taking space by holding that rail unless you were cashing it in for a reasonable kill opportunity, which this is not. We do not like to rail tanks that are jumping behind cover while they're still healthy. So maybe it's just a one-off. Maybe this isn't a thing. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Obviously, we know that's not the case because, hey, it's me. I'm going to have multiple examples. But let's take a quick look here at this. So we're going to go ahead and get our way in here. No problem. We're fighting some squishies. We've built up most of our rail. Winston jumping into our face. No problem. Cool. Didn't have an opportunity to rail Winston before now. The bubble was down. If we'd wanted to rail him, then charge up some more rail charge, that could make sense. We can rail a tank multiple times on the way to killing them if necessary. This, however, is terrible. We just railed Winston down from, what, 60% health to 50% health? Something like that as he's closing an angle. Same exact problem. Now the squishies are much freer, much less fearful. They're going to open angles and poke back at our team. So bad sort of pressure relief that we've given the other team by spending this rail on someone who's closing the angle on us when we know it's not going to kill them. But that's okay. There's other things we can do on Sojourn, and lots of other things that Kronik does well. For example, Kronik really sees those ram slows coming from a million miles away, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at things that he could use some improvement on. And this one is one that he certainly has room to improve on Sojourn. Would feel even worse on his casty, and if you guys want to check out the stream on Twitch, Temporal TV, sometimes I do my workup on players over there. You would see we reviewed some casty map as well. But here what we have is something a little bit annoying. So we look at this, and what we have here is we're pushing in, we're shooting at the other team, no problem. And then we decide, hey, I'm closing the angle. There's a deflecting Genji. Let's go ahead and reload at 19 ammo. And that would make sense if we weren't obviously swinging into a place that we very much expected to have a sightline on someone. We didn't know if it was going to be RuPaul, Vega, if it was going to be Infected. We knew it wasn't going to be Zera. Zera's deflecting. That's part of what caused us to push this reload button. But this is a reload on a swing while we still have basically half of our clip. And if we do, spend like 3 bullets, 5 bullets, whatever, we can easily get someone low enough that we want to spend this 100 charge railgun to potentially get a kill there. So we've delayed our own reaching for a kill, which we don't want to do. We want to get a kill as soon as feasibly possible, as soon as it's going to, be there and not be such a long shot. And it's not a long shot in this case. We knew as we were swinging here with half of our clip that before our reload would be done, we would have another target, even if we didn't know exactly who that would be. So this might look minor, but we're working with pro players here. We are going to find the things that make them 1% better, 3% better, 0.2% better, because those are the sort of improvements that they have room for. Now we've got our reload done and we're shooting, but this is delayed. We could have already done enough damage to be wanting to use our railgun on one of these squishies. We could also get a fat disruptor shot now that deflect isn't available. But hey, we probably want to spend our rail and get that done. And then sure enough, as if to prove the point, here we are doing our next reload at 24 ammo. This reload is actually more fine, but this reload should be happening naturally because we should have spent to 0 because we didn't do the previous reload, if that makes any sense. But hey, again, is this a one-off? Is this something where we don't have to worry about it? It's actually not a reoccurring problem. We just caught something a little bit sloppy. Well, yes, of course we caught something a little bit sloppy, but no, it's not a one-off. That reload's perfectly fine. No one's on his screen, and Sojourn does have a fast reload. Winston's in our face. We'll shoot at him. And then Winston is very clearly still in our field of view. He might not be on our screen, but we are pressing the reload button here with 40 ammo, with most of our clip, while Winston definitely doesn't have cover against us. There's some pillars behind us, but he's too big to hide behind those. We got jostled a bit by this Winston jump, it's true, but in no way should we be reloading it. We should absolutely be shooting maybe at the Winston. We could be shooting at the Genji that's probably behind us at this point, pulling out his blade. We're going to get jostled in front of this and can be shooting at that. Now, we didn't necessarily know we were going to get jostled all the way in front of this. We kind of did. I mean, we got booped. But there are plenty of targets that should be on our screen. Yes, no one is technically on our screen, but there are targets that should be on our screen. Us sort of like staring at the wall to go, oh, now there's no one on my screen, so it's okay to reload, right? Is just foolish. That's just like object permanence. We're older than 3 years old. We know that not looking at someone doesn't make them go away. If you can actually close angles against them, sure, go ahead and reload. This is not that. But let's put another twist on this reload thing. I know it's not everyone's favorite topic, but it absolutely does matter for hit scans, more so on cast than Sojourn, but still matters. As you can see here on Sojourn, we could easily be farming up to this next rail. We're taking damage. We don't like that, but we could be shooting back at the Winston while we do that, while we try to move to a more secure place. So let's jump back here to this. And here we'll see some cooperation with Hawk. So we've got this right here. And we're shooting that side. Now we're pushing main. We're trying to push first point. Hawk is soaking some attention to us. We are playing into Hanzo, which is dangerous. Hanzo can potentially one-shot us. But Hawk is spending defense matrix. Hawk is spending his health. Hawk is walking and taking some attention. Some eyeballs are on him. So we can shoot at the enemies right now. That's good. Shoot at the enemies. And now we're closing the angle. And those are our kunai from CJ flying by. We're not in any danger. Hawk is soaking this attention for us. And we decided now was a good time to reload. That's foolish. We want to be shooting while Hawk is soaking that attention for us. We didn't have meaningful pressure on us. That's about as good as it gets. Now, it would be better if we were on a different angle than Hawk, so that shots that maybe were meant for Hawk or were meant for us behind Hawk that sort of didn't work out and we could sort of see who they were shooting at. Sure, that would be better. But even with Hawk right in front of us there, we want to use his attention. We don't want to force this early reload. We want to keep shooting suppressive fire, building up some rail. Even if we can't see through Hawk to shoot through him, we know where the enemies are and can put some suppressive fire through there and get some rail charge. And now we finished our reload, but now Hawk's gone. He went over to the left, and now there's a slow here and a Wu Yang orb coming by, and we just have to sort of wait and do nothing. And that's because we wasted the opportunity by just doing a random early reload while Hawk was taking attention for us. So be aware of what your tanks are doing. Be aware that in a lot of ways they're doing it for you. It might not be for you specifically, but it is mostly for you when they're doing this stuff. It might be for you to take position. It might be for you to poke. Hawk, I promise, is not doing meaningful damage. Even if he does some left click, he has Matrix up right now, but even if he does some left click, this is not for Hawk, other than getting some pings out there, which is kind of for him, but kind of for his team. Maybe it's for Sugar Free to rotate around bottom left. We'd have to go check. Maybe Hawk's holding this angle open to help do that. But a meaningful portion of what this is is, hey, we're going to go ahead and let Kronik build up some rail charge, shoot some suppressive fire, let Hawk be the wall. Maybe it's a little bit to help CJ get ult because they want ult for the next fight because they know theirs is going to be up faster than RuPaul's. But you want to use this time to get this done. We shoot a little bit, Hawk backs off, we back off with him, no problem, he's back out there. Why are we closing the angle to reload? Hawk is spending health and defense matrix for this. I know the Hanzo is scary and the Hanzo can one-shot you, but if Hawk is holding this open, a meaningful portion of this is for you to shoot. Yes, it's probably more to get CJ ult right now, but you want to take advantage of this. You can shoot suppressive fire at the window through Hawk and be in almost no danger from the Hanzo while building up your rail charge, which again will put more pressure on the enemy team. It's going to be harder for them to walk if they know you have some or all of your rail charge than it will be now. So Hawk is spending all this, and now we're back out here, and now Hawk closes, and oh look, you have 31 more ammo to spend that you really can't peek to spend anymore. So that's not great. That's a minor thing, but you see how there's both the reload issue. We don't want to reload when there's people we should be shooting at, when we don't need to close the angle for our own safety, when people aren't looking at us sort of thing. We also don't want to be reloading while our tank is actively challenging, in part for us. That's just spending the tank's resources, letting the enemy teams usually hit scan because they tend to be the biggest sort of damage pressure roll, but letting the tank build up a health lead, a resource lead, letting their hit scan build it up on you because you're doing a pointless reload and your tank's health is going down, whereas you are not in return lowering their tank's health or pressuring their supports or damage, which would in turn decrease their incoming damage or decrease their incoming healing, which would effectively lower the resources there. So you don't want that to happen. Well, neither are happening. But let's move on to one final topic here. We've talked about the railguns into tanks that are leaving when it's not going to kill them. Those are bad, and it lets the enemy team have permission. We've talked about the reloads, both just bad reloads of like, hey, this is just lost damage, can't do this, you should expect people to be here, and not working well when your tank is threatening for you. So let's move on to disruptor shots. And if we go over to, let's say here, we see some squishies back there on the ground, no problem. Oh, got hit, got an arrow, fortunately didn't take our head off. We know where most of their squishies are. We actually know where basically all of their squishies are. We might not know exactly where Wu Young is, but he's generally going to play pretty far away. This doesn't do anything. I know this is done as like a, oh, I don't want you walking on me tank, or I want to sort of clear a little space. This could make sense if this was playing into like Ram, Cass, Lucio, and we thought they were the stronger brawl comp that was going to try to round on us and fight us thing. But we saw two people on the low ground over there. We know Tracer is on the ground playing with Cart. We know Wu Youngs basically have to play far away. They can't play right stacked on top of their tank like this. It's terrible. So there's no squishies here for this Disruptor Shot. Disruptor Shot is terrible into tanks. It's really not annoying to them. It's really good at making backliners, close angles, move, things like that. So if you'd shot it off at Tree and RuPaul back there, they'd have to spend some time moving out of it. That could be good. Or you could shoot it like at the window back up there at a different point in the map. So you're going, hey, I know that's a dangerous angle into us, so I'm going to close this in the poke phase. Or I saw someone rotate. I saw a hit scan or a Tracer leave the main part of the fight. I know they're going on a flank, so I'm going to wait a couple seconds and then maybe Disruptor up the stairs at the back there because I saw them leave and I think it's been long enough that they're coming around here, and aha, now there's a little bit of a problem for them. Closing flanks with it is good. Putting it on top of squishies is good. Once a tank starts walking, sending it right behind the tank onto the backliners that potentially want to now walk to take the old tank space, so you can send it right to where the tank was after the tank walks. That's good. This is not good. This is a tank. It's only going to be relevant on the tank. It doesn't do anything. It's just kind of garbage, unfortunately. Okay, so again, maybe it's a one-off thing. Maybe, oh, it doesn't happen. Obviously, I'm pulling your chain. It happens. In fact, we're going to find that if we work really hard, we can flip the map around and get the same Disruptor Shot. And this Disruptor Shot is because he saw Monkey go up. He thinks Monkey's going to come down and round the corner on him. There's no other squishies up here. Hawk would have cleared them. He knows there's no other squishies up here. This is just for the tank. It's really not very good for the tank. The damage isn't very threatening. Even if you spec into the slow, I believe the slow gets the usual tank CC mitigation thing effect applied to it, though I could be mistaken on that. Doesn't matter because Kronik is picking the overclock rather than the slow perk there. So Disruptor, tanks, really not good. If the tank gets caught in it with other people, fine, but you don't want to be shooting Disruptor to like scare the tank or de-incentivize the tank. You want to disrupt other members. And then let's just give one place where I can give a better sort of example, easier to see how it's supposed to work, where we'll go to here and then we can wrap. So if we go here, Infected's there, no problem, and we shoot this Disruptor. And if Infected had just walked, this could be a pretty good Disruptor because this Disruptor would then be blocking Lucio and Kiriko from walking into this space and taking the place that they really want to take, the more aggressive space, a little more influence in the battle. They want to move forward when their tank moves forward, and then they'd have to go, oh, we started to walk forward, we're actually going to change our mind and have to swing back out like that, or we're going to have to eat it and walk through and take some damage, and that's dangerous to us because then we could immediately die to a rail, for example. And if we instead double back and go back this way, that's time that we're missing, that we're not putting Kiriko knives, Lucio pellets, and Kiriko papers into the fight, and that means that proportionately, our team is losing resources because, say, Infected's health is going down, not getting healed, while our pressure isn't coming out, while your team's pressure is going normal. So if we just treat it as a sort of tank trade thing, Hawk would be net winning sort of the resource, the healths, etc. It gets more complicated than that because you will shoot at people like Tree, like Zera, not just people like Infected, and Infected will shoot at people like CJ, like Glep, like Kronik, not just at Hawk. But, you know, if you thought of it as sort of the tank thing and the damage going into the tank and the healing going into the tank, you can still see how, oh, the healing missing for even just a second because of the Disruptor shot to have to go back to their old worse angle when they were trying to move up to a better, more aggressive one is going to net us a little bit of a resource gain. And that's the type of way you're looking to use your Disruptor shot. This, unfortunately, is not that. We see here that Infected is not walking. He's just holding space. He's just got his shield up and is holding space. So this Disruptor is not what we want. Not going to do too much for us. So that's really what I wanted to cover. We can see the main things that would help Kronik get better on this hero would be, hey, we don't want to rail exiting tanks. That's a really expensive thing to give up, so we want to fix that immediately unless the tank is much weaker than the examples we found. Kill that habit. So we'll go like this, rails, tanks, exiting, not good. Get rid of that. We'll go like that. Cool. We'll say reloads. Those feel less bad on Sojourn, but you really get punished for those on Cassidy, and we did see on the other map that we watched some Ilios over on stream there, that those were a problem on Cassidy as well. They will really hurt you. They're letting up way too much pressure on the other team by getting bad reloads in there on Cassidy. They still hurt you on Sojourn, though not as bad. And we sort of have a subcategory of, you know, don't strand your tank with this. Don't reload while your tank is soaking for you, while your tank is soaking for another purpose, like letting your tracer rotate or like getting your support ult up. Take advantage of that time for the most part. Shoot, don't just randomly reload during that. That's sort of a secondary category within this. And then we've got our disruptor shots. You really don't want to use those on tanks. They're not good for tanks. They're for squishies. You can put them where a tank was when the tank walks, because the squishies probably want to walk through that place. You can put them to close an angle. Like if you said, hey, I'm going to disrupt her back here, that could be totally valid. Makes the supports rotate again. You could use it to close a path, to close something like this over here, especially if you saw a hit scan or a tracer start to disappear this way and you go, nope, I'm just going to pre-shut that down. Those would all be good, but these are the things that we would say Kronik needs to work on, and guess what? These are things that a ton of hit scan players would need to work on Sojourn as well. So be better than Kronik. Implement this stuff, get this fixed. Obviously, you're going to have other work that you individually are going to need to do, but if Kronik needs to work on this, you will most certainly need to work on this as a hit scan player, so get it done. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks! Temporal out.